On today's episode, we're going to talk about company culture. This is a little bit different of an episode. I'm not going to give you guys any real specific tips or techniques, but I'm going to talk about some philosophies on what kind of culture leads to a successful business. My name is Tim Stoddard, and welcome to Stodzy Land. What's up, everybody? Once again, my name is Tim Stoddard with Stodzy Media. Thank you so much for joining me. As I said, today we're going to talk about company culture. I'm just going to ramble off the top of my head a little bit because I feel like culture is one of the really successes of Stodzy, one of the things that we've definitely got right. And culture leads to an extremely productive working environment. If you don't have your culture down, then your employees aren't really going to be satisfied with their work. They're not going to feel great about walking in the door anymore, and their mindset is definitely going to affect productivity. So the first concept I would like to talk about with culture is the ability to be yourself. I'm going to talk about personal experience here because as a boss and a leader, I've spent a lot of time kind of debating this. You know, for example, there's been times where I used to make sure I dressed really nicely. I bought a whole bunch of expensive clothes and I tried to have my shirt tucked in and a tie and a nice button down every day. And I've discovered that it just wasn't me. I had a much easier time leading and a much easier time kind of commanding attention if I was dressed as myself. I think that embracing who you are is going to lead to a much more dynamic company culture, because as the leader, when you decide to be who you are, essentially what you're doing is you're giving the people in your company permission to be who they are as well. Everybody's different. Everybody has lots of unique qualities and idiosyncrasies about them, and giving people the emotional and mental permission to come into work every day being themselves, I think just leads to a better working environment. The second philosophy I have is always have an open door policy. I'm a big fan. The layout of our office definitely has walls and doors. If we could, I would love to have just like a big warehouse where people were encouraged to speak freely and have open conversations with their neighbors, get to know each other, run ideas past each other. Even more than that, how it relates to me. If anybody has something on their mind, regardless of what it is, if it's personal, if it's work, if maybe it's they don't agree with how we're handling some kind of client, whatever the case is, no matter how delicate of a topic it might be, the door's always open. People can come in here and they can talk to me whenever they want. I feel good about that. I've never really had a job like that. Granted, I haven't really had very many jobs. I've always kind of done things for myself. But the people that I remember working for that were approachable and that were easy to talk to were always the people that I felt passionate about doing the best that I could, because they made me want to do the best that I could, not because I wanted to please them, but because they gave me the power and the confidence to do it for myself. I think that's a big deal. I think a lot of companies don't really do that. The boss wants to be the boss, and he wants to have some kind of authority over people. And I don't buy into that shit. I hope that you don't either. And my third philosophy at Stodzy with company culture is I'm a big advocate of letting people find their own roles. So this one's kind of tricky because you have to be specific. When we've hired new employees, we always have a designated role for them. We have a position that we need to fill, and we try to find the best person for that position. But with that being said, we never trap people into a box. There's always some room to grow, and that's important. I think Alex is a really good example of that. When she first came in here, she was more of like an assistant role. By giving her creative freedom to kind of experiment with things, we discovered that Alex has some freakish, like, genius ability to understand code and therefore understand SEO. So if we would have said, no, this is your job, this is all that you're in charge of, we never would have had the opportunity to find out how talented she is in other areas. I have examples of that with all of the employees, really. Molly kind of fell into that as well. We've discovered that she has a real knack for analytics, understanding behavior of websites and looking at line graphs and seeing where people are clicking, where they're not clicking, and devising a plan out of that. When Molly first got here, she was just a content manager. Her job was to manage the blogs and the videos on our clients' websites. But we gave her the freedom to kind of experiment, to tinker around, to look at things, to study analytics charts. And before we knew it, she was writing monthly reports for all of our clients. She was developing strategies for all of our clients, and it's working really, really well. I think that's hugely important. I will run Stasi in that way until I die, and I think it has a lot to do with our success because we've just allowed people to do what they're best at. I don't believe in forcing people to do shit that they're not good at because that's a role that you have to fill. I believe in people working in where they excel. All right, that's all I got, guys. What's up, David? As always, if anybody needs to get in touch with me, you can email me. It's right down here, tim@stasi.com. I really appreciate all the emails that I get from everybody. I am so grateful for your attention, for the comments, and for the kind words that I've gotten from all of you. So if you ever need me, you know where to find me. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you guys giving me your attention, and I'll speak to you next time. Peace.